If you've ever felt like no one truly understands what it's like to live with RSI, the frustration of not being able to hold a book open or open a jar, or living with constant anxiety about flare ups, today's stream is for you. I'm Deborah Quilter, and today we are talking about the results of our community questionnaire. We're moving past the clinical definitions, statistics, and treatments and talking about the lived experience of having RSI on a daily basis. I think the results you're going to hear today will astonish anybody who doesn't have RSI, but it may not surprise you. So, welcome everybody from either live or in the replay, and thank you for being here at the first ever RSI Experience live stream. You and my guest panel are the first to hear some of the results of the questionnaire that I posted recently. Thank you for coming and being willing to share your experiences. One of the goals of this live stream is to give people with RSI a chance to be heard, and hopefully this live stream will reach a wider audience of people who need to hear it. So please be sure to share this. You can share the replay. Before we begin, please review the guidelines that will keep the conversation running smoothly. And remember that you can contribute your own opinions in the chat. That's on the right-hand side of the page as we go along. So if anything appeals to you, just jump in. So we're going to start with some of the results of the study, and then later on we'll discuss things with our guests who have responded to the survey. And here are some of the numbers. We asked how long people have had RSI, and it turns out that 33% of you have had RSI for over 10 years. 16.7 had RSI for 5 to 10 years, and 35% have had RSI for 1 to 5 years. And one of the most telling results of this survey is how many of us were somewhat aware or completely unaware of RSI before it hit. When we asked, were you aware of RSI before you were injured? 31% of you hadn't heard of it. 19% were somewhat aware of RSI, but a whopping 40.5% had heard of RSI but didn't understand how serious it was. That's why this live stream is so important, because you have a chance to talk about how RSI has impacted almost every aspect of your life. Now, when we asked about how many doctors you had seen before receiving a satisfactory diagnosis, 33.3% of you reported seeing two or three doctors, and 14.3% saw 4 or 5 doctors before getting an evaluation diagnosis. Almost 12% saw more than 5 doctors, and 28.6% of you were still looking for a diagnosis. When we asked how often you experience relapses or flare-ups, 43.9% of you experienced them weekly, 22% of you only with specific activities, and 17% of you experienced them monthly. Then we asked which workstation elements and tech devices gave you the most trouble. 33% of you said the mouse, and 28.6% said it was the keyboard, but there were other problems as well. We asked you, we asked you where you had your symptoms, and the majority of you experienced symptoms in the fingers, thumb, wrist, forearm, and elbow. But people also had symptoms in their upper arms, shoulders, shoulder blade, mid back, and neck. Now, a lot of people associate RSI with pain, or with only carpal tunnel syndrome in the wrist, and don't understand that it can affect the entire upper extremity from fingertip to neck and shoulder blade. We also asked people about the kind of symptoms that they had. Many people think that RSI is only pain, but that's not true. Sometimes it's not painful at all. Symptoms of RSI include tingling, pins and needles, sensation, a numb sensation, weakness, burning, stiffness, trouble opening fingers, hands falling asleep, and extreme clumsiness where you're constantly dropping things. Even a hyper awareness of an area can be symptomatic of RSI. So these things can be very unsettling and trying in daily life. Then we asked if you had quit or lost your job because of RSI. A shocking 40% of you had lost your job, and an additional 21.4% of you were worried about losing your job. This is one of the worst parts about RSI. In addition to a physical injury that could be quite debilitating, you can lose your ability to make a living. We asked, how effective or knowledgeable is your physical therapist? 32.5% of you said it was ineffective, 42.5% said it was somewhat helpful, and 10% reported that physical therapy helped only during the session, but that the symptoms came back right away. 10% reported that physical therapy actually made things worse. And did ergonomics solve the problem for you? 31% said it helped a little, but 19% said it did not help. We asked how you would describe the overall severity of your RSI. 37.5% of you said it was significant, and 35% said you could function, but with pain. 7.5% of you said your RSI was so severe that you were unable to function independently in many activities of daily living. Then we asked open-ended questions. So now we're going to hear from some members of the panel, and maybe some other people will be showing up, but certainly if you've got something to say, put it in the chat.
I'm just gonna speak. Yeah, like I think for me, it's I'm a programmer, so it gets pretty hard to type, which is obviously annoying because that's my tools of trade.
Yeah. And does it affect you in any other aspect of daily life? Because I think
No,
you're fairly recently diagnosed with
I have been
RSI.
diagnosed. I've had the symptoms for maybe 7 years ish. Um, yeah, and I've seen doctors on and off. None of them are very effective. And I've only recently saw you because I think
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be trying if you can't find a doctor. And sometimes the kind of, I mean, they could diagnose you, but in terms of pragmatic help, it's not always what you really need, which is someone knowledgeable who understands the body to look at you in your workstation doing what you do every day, which is what I do as a consultant. I come to people, I tell them to just show me what they're doing in daily life. And I look at them, just show me what you're doing. Are you an accountant? Are you a programmer? Are you a writer? Just let me see what you do, how you use your devices. And I film people doing this. And this is important because then they can see what I'm seeing. And I say, see how you're moving your wrist like this? That's why you've got the elbow pain. And if you don't want the elbow pain and a further injury, you move your hand like this. So this is one of the most important things I can do for people is technique retraining. I help them with their posture. I mean, you're lucky if your doctor sends you to physical therapy and says, you need to sit in better posture. But the problem is that people get these so-called ergonomic chairs and then they collapse in them, which is not good posture. Good posture is when you're sitting tall without a backrest. Because when you use the backrest, you're weakening all the muscles in your core and your head is forward, which compresses the nerves that go under the collarbone and down through the arm, which can lead to terrific repetitive strain injuries. So, it's a long winded way of saying that I wish that more doctors were like the doctor who diagnosed me, who took me into a studio, had me set up a workstation the way it was when I was working, and said, here, this is why you're having that elbow pain. You're pointing your pinky. And I stopped doing that. He showed me how to use my hands more neutrally. And most people have no idea. they've got zip until they get into real trouble. And even then, I mean, finding someone who knows these techniques is, I mean, I'm the only person I know who can analyze this. So the best thing you can do is basically use your voice. Is there anything else? How about you, Alexandria? How has RSI? We've got two ends of the spectrum here because Alexandria has had RSI for a long time, practically as long as I have.
Yeah, 28 years, I guess, by now, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
I'm over 30 years.
yeah. Yeah. Um, oh my gosh. I mean, this is a topic, as you know, I could go on and on about. And Ganesh, I hope that you come back from this, or find
Thank
ways
you.
to adapt. I really do, because I know the hell all too well. And yeah, I mean, back 28 years ago, no one knew really what RSI was. And actually, if it wasn't for Deborah and her book, I don't know what I would have done. It literally saved my life. And because until then, everyone made you feel like, oh, you're making it up. I mean, the psychological damage alone, never mind the physical, can be really harsh. Um, but anyway, that's a whole other topic.
But
um,
talk about what it's like in your daily life, Alexandria.
oh,
Using
yes.
how
Yeah,
has RSI affected everything you do from getting
every
up in the morning to going to,
yeah,
you know,
everything, absolutely everything. I mean, I recently bought a house, and I had to weigh our stairs worth the house, and they are, because I can't grip rails, um, perfectly all the time, right? And my hands spasm. So I mean that affects everything. From the cups that I use, I have my steel Yeti. I can't use glass because I'll drop it. Or when I drop it, then the glass the broken glass. And so I mean, over the gosh, I hate to say it, over 2 decades, I've learned to adapt pretty much everything from, yes, how I get out of bed, how I sleep, um, how I cook, how I get dressed, the clothes that I choose to wear. Every single thing I do is touched, by RSI. And I've recently taken up gardening, and I'm finding, okay, I have to adapt this. I have to adapt that technique, for myself. But yeah, every single thing is touched by RSI, and I've modified in the way that I do things, or what I uh, use in the process. Like, for instance, with cooking, I have a lot of gadgets, people call them, that just make my life a lot easier because I love to cook. So, but so you have to adapt.
but RSI can make it almost, I mean, Alexandria and I were talking about this together when we were preparing for this live stream. And it's a real problem if you have it seriously. And it there can be a long time when your tissues can handle the amount of work that you're doing, but then suddenly, boom, you're having a lot of different symptoms and it's worse. And suddenly, you can't do the hobbies that you used to be able to do. Your driving is impacted. It's hard to open a jar. It's hard to open a door. Doors are really hard to open if you've got, you know, tendonitis or you're really weak. And so even, the slightest things. And I was talking to someone earlier today who was having pain doing nothing.
Yeah.
So, she was asking me, well, when can I expect to be pain free? And, it's complicated because she wasn't in physical therapy. She didn't have an exercise program. No one who was knowledgeable had looked at her technique or her workstation setup. And if you don't address all the risk factors of RSI, the one that you don't address can do you in. It's not good enough to get a different chair or a new keyboard. These things, you know, and furthermore, if you do get, say, you do yourself in on the mouse and you think, oh, I'll just get one of those vertical mice. Then, surprise, surprise, suddenly you've got a shoulder injury because you've transferred the movement of the wrist into the shoulder. So, this is why I don't think there is any good mouse, period. I've been saying that for 30 years. People didn't listen to me, and now it's one of the leading complaints that people have about, you know, having to work. People don't have any idea how dangerous phones are, and you can't use another pair of hands. You only get
No.
two. And so all of this stuff that you're doing, if you're working on your computer and then you go home and make dinner and you're chopping vegetables, or you have to make your bed, or do the laundry or something like that, it's those hands
Yeah.
that you have that are being impacted on this. So anyway, you have something to add, Alexandria?
Oh. It's funny as you're talking and I'm thinking it's really, if at all possible, if you have a partner or someone in your life that you can share certain responsibilities with. So my partner, she's just as messed up as I am, but differently. Hers is mouse related, mine was keyboard caused. So we're both messed up in slightly different ways. So certain things we can do together, we trade off, and that can be kind of helpful. So just, yeah, I was thinking about that when you mentioned the bed, because we have to make the bed together because one of us alone can't do it. We need to do it together, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
And most people would think nothing of making a bed.
Oh gosh, no.
It's nothing for them. And um, people who don't have RSI, it can be a real problem because they don't understand what it's like for you.
No, you can't at all, and it's really hard. I mean, the most I've been able to try to get through to people is say, try not to use your hands literally
Yeah.
for 1 hour, and you're not allowed to sit there and just watch television, or use them on a very limited basis. It's hard. I mean, you're constantly using your hands for everything, every
Yeah,
single thing, and we take it for granted until we don't have them anymore.
that's true. But, there's a difference between resting and using your hands normally. Using your hands normally in ways that don't irritate them
Mm-hmm.
is good because you
Yes.
need to use your hands. Otherwise, you're going to get a frozen shoulder or
Oh,
something because
definitely.
you're not moving. But it's a tightrope. I was trying to explain that to the client that I was seeing earlier today. And, I said, it's like being on a tightrope. What your goal is to reach a maintenance level where you don't have pain on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can reach that level, let me see if I can fix this. I'm having trouble with the, for some reason I can't drag. Oh well, here we go.
There you are.
Okay, so this is part of technology that just I wish weren't there. Um, so you want to reach a baseline. So if you're injured, I believe you can get better,
Mm-hmm.
but there's always that underlying injury. And so you're going along, going along, going along. You're not working in pain. You're taking your breaks, you're sitting tall, and then boom, you got a deadline, or you had to lift something out of the trunk of the car. You had to carry groceries. You had to do something, paint the garage, and you flare. Everybody flares.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that people don't understand is that if you're pain free, that doesn't mean that you don't have an injury
Mm-hmm.
because it's there lying under the surface, ready to rear up the minute you do something that's too much. So we're all sort of on a tightrope to be paying careful attention to ourselves, listening to our symptoms, stopping before they emerge. It's a really good idea to work a little bit, take breaks, work a little bit, take breaks, and do it. And by take breaks, you could be making a phone call instead of at the keyboard, because that way you are not putting yourself in the position where you can flare or relapse, because those are very disappointing. I mean, you think, oh, here we go again. You know, am I going to get better this time?
So out of
It's
curiosity,
awful.
right? Sorry,
No,
Alexandria.
go ahead. Go ahead, please, please,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Now I was just curious, trying to compare the experience between the three of us, right? So for me, I think I am able to do most of the daily things. The only thing I'm having trouble with is typing, and in a very specific way, which is I felt like my fingers are getting more stiff these days, and my pinky is, I think, suffering from an overuse, because as a programmer you have to reach a lot with your pinkies, right? You have to reach the shift button and like the control button, all of them with your pinkies. So that's my experience. So I would like to understand, if you guys don't mind, how does your experience, like, with RSI? You said that making a bet is difficult. Is it because your fingers are weak, or is it because of some other kind of like issues?
Yeah, for me, it's weakness as well as pain. Like I have a few different things: decurvains and tendonitis, tenosynovitis, and epicondylitis. That's I basically have everything except carpal tunnel. And so if I pull on the sheets a certain way, then I feel like a snap, something, a tendon or
Right.
something, and it's just in this sharp pain. So having someone share the responsibility of the weight and the pull, or stabilizing something, really helps. But for you with the keyboard, see, the keyboard was my detriment, and that's a tough one, right? Because like you said, you're having to constantly, control all F, whatever your, keys,
Yeah.
whatever that spread is. Um,
I'd like to say something about the keyboard. If you'll notice, they put all the important keys on the peripheral edge by the weakest finger, the pinky.
yes. Yeah.
And it forces you into ulnar deviation. So instead of moving the whole hand, people twist. And then they start wondering why they're getting elbow pain or nerve numbness or something like that. It's from their technique,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because no one ever taught them how to use a keyboard properly, if they're going to use a keyboard, which is why I tell everybody just dictate, because people don't understand how you use your hands is what got you into trouble. You, Alexandria, got into trouble from the space bar, because this is a highly unnatural action.
Yep.
Hitting the space bar will give you an injury
Hmm.
if you do it too hard, too long, too much. And so, I mean, there are some people, I shouldn't overgeneralize here, because some people do all the wrong things and for some reason
Yeah.
never seem to get RSI. But
Yeah.
behind that, I'm always thinking,
Yeah. Yeah.
yet, because it's a cumulative trauma disorder. You can go along and go along and go along, and then bam, someday, it seems very sudden and very urgent, but people have been ignoring signs. Again, the woman I talked to this morning said she had had an episode of RSI 2 Septembers ago, and she blew it off because she figured, I'm fine. She had symptoms and was worried, and then they went away. This is the episodic nature of RSI. You have an episode, it goes away. You have other um, another episode, it also goes away, and then the episodes start getting closer and closer and closer together, and then they stopping altogether.
Yeah.
I see Nancy Manel,
Yeah.
and she said, I had to retire early to improve, and years later come back to the limited use of the computer.
Yeah.
Yes. Nancy, do you want to join us? You've got a invitation, so if you want to come on camera. just hit the blue button. I mean, otherwise you can stay in the chat. Nancy is such a dear friend from way back. She was the head of an East Bay support group for RSI,
Mm.
and she had me out for a workshop, and she's a treasure to the RSI community. And Nancy, I'm going to quote you here because she was talking about ergonomics one day, and she said, it just moves the injury around. And I thought truer words have never been spoken.
Absolutely. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you can jump in there, but she had to retire, and she's coming back, but
Well, like you said earlier, Deborah, it's still there under the surface, right? And there's, I don't want to scare Ganesh, but there's a point, and I don't know when it is, it's probably different for everyone, where you'll never recover 100%, right?
Mhm.
You'll always have to be careful.
Yeah.
And that's
Nancy, I'm going to interject here. Nancy, there's an email that I sent you, and you click on the link, and it takes you to StreamYard, and then you click on the blue button, and we'll let you into the studio. You'll be backstage. So look for your email that I sent you announcing the live stream and inviting you as a guest, and then click on that link, and you'll see us. Let me know if you have any problems.
yes, because it would be great to talk to.
Yeah, she's an old timer. One of the reasons why I was so happy that Alexandria could join us today is that Alexandria's been around, and it's the old timers who have been there, done that, tried everything in the world. And yes, Ganesh, we don't want to scare you, but wouldn't you rather know what could happen? Um,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, you don't just like put the stuff under the rug because it's gonna bite you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I'm quite optimistic. I don't think it it scares me. How do you say it? Like there's always a way around like
There's,
challenges.
yes,
Um, like including as you said, kind of like changing like your life around like some challenges, right? I'm actually
you
curious. When you say you've sorry, Deborah. Do you want to say something just now?
soft tissue injuries are very unforgiving, and it's not like another disease where you go take a medicine or do some exercises and you're good to go. It's not like healing a broken bone.
Mhm.
And people don't realize this until they get it. And then it starts impacting everything. And, as I said, I've studied this for over 30 years. And the more I learn, the more respect I have for how our tools and our environment are setting us up. Um, but anyway, go ahead with what you were going to say.
No, I was just curious. When you said that Alexandria has been around for a while and has tried like many things, maybe if you could share like what sort of like things have you tried and what kind of like sticks and what
what
didn't really.
doesn't. Yeah, well, in terms of physical therapies, so there was massage therapy, which was touch and go depending on the therapist. And I mean, honestly, it came to the point where I realized I'd need a massage every day or every couple days for it to make a difference. So that's kind of not realistic. Tried acupuncture. That did not work for me at all. Could have been the acupuncturist, could have been me. Who knows, right? Everything, yeah, is personal. Um, see, paraffin wax, dipping my arms in paraffin wax to heat it up. It was nice while it was happening, but go back to
So
work.
sorry.
What? Oh, you haven't heard that one before?
Oh, no. I mean, have you been to the sand where they put your arm and the thing and the little we
No.
buckwheat pellets are bouncing around with.
No, I missed that one. I
Yeah,
didn't have that
or they
one.
give you the silly putty that you're supposed to squeeze.
Oh, no, 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 no,
I know.
instant pain,
I
memories.
know.
No, sorry. Um, and see, and that's the problem, Ganesh, is that, 28 years ago, lifting soup cans, and
They're
I
still
mean,
doing that.
oh my gosh, you get coached to do all these things that actually make it worse. Shaking out your
Your
arms.
coach to lift soup cans.
Yes, weights.
So look at it this way,
Right.
Ganesha. You've got an injury to your forearm. So it's the tissue is weak from overuse. So now you're adding weight
Yeah.
to overuse.
It's you lifting weights is not going to make your injury better. I mean, I agree with physical activity. I agree with strengthening the muscles carefully, but not strengthening like I was a bodybuilder. That's just crazy. Cause breaks. Oh, hang on, Nancy. Just gonna put that in here.
Constant breaks, let go of being a top performer.
Yeah.
Breath training, not involuntary breath hold.
Oh.
Yeah, that's another interesting point. Thank you, Nancy.
Oh.
Yeah, people, it's really hard for people who are putting in their best performance.
Mhm.
They're one of the people that shines in their field. It's very hard for them to stop and reel everything back. You could also lose your job that way by not producing as much as you did previously. Um, so it's not like everybody with RSI is type A. I don't agree with that. I think that's blaming the victim because we didn't design these tools. The tools themselves are inherently dangerous and we are forced to use them. Everybody has to use a computer and a cell phone and a mouse unless they're smart enough to get rid of the mouse. But about the breath training, breathing, a lot of people hold their breath at the computer when they're waiting for something to download or they're stressed out. And that's not a good thing to hold your breath. I mean, it prevents a lot of activities that should be happening in the body from happening and it tightens up the muscles. You're not getting the amount of oxygen that you need for your muscles. So, excellent point, Nancy. Thank you for making that. For
Oh.
years, I also used automated mouse clicks. Yeah, I have a foot pedal and I click with my foot pedal. And then if you use Dragon or some of the, I don't think the other software programs can do that. You can click by saying mouse click. But
Mhm.
I like using my foot. I just tap my foot. And then I've got three pedals on my foot pedal, and one is page up, one is page down, and then the other one is click.
I've heard of this thing which I haven't used, but might be kind of like the new dragon in the AI kind of like era, where like basically it
Mm.
uses AI, so hence should be probably
Is it
smarter.
Whisper?
Yeah, it's Whisper.
I've heard
Not sure
that's
if you've. Yeah,
helpful.
it's called Whisper Flow.
Yeah.
So definitely work. I wish I could share it with you on the chat, but I can't.
Are you, um, let me
Oh,
ask
there
you,
you go. There you go. There you go. I think
does
I
it
can. I
help
just have
you?
to log in. I haven't tried it, but I know the technology. I think they're used for other things, and I think they're considered reliable. So if they made kind of like a dictation software on top of that reliable core, I think that's quite promising. Let me
The
just
only
share
thing
it
I
on
just
a.
want to interject is Whisper. Um, it's great, but it doesn't have secure. Like it's a bit of a risk in terms of security and privacy. That's the only thing.
Right.
Other than that, it's great. So, if if there's anything really
Yeah.
sensitive,
Pick
you
your
need.
poison.
Do you train people on it, Alexandria?
No, I just always I'm a dragon lady. So, no, I read up on it
Mhm.
because of Dragon Copilot. So the medical AI that we'll be selling here in Canada anyway. And Whisper is sort of the backbone for some other AI scribes, which is not good because of their lack of security. So, and as the last couple days in the news has shown us, that's really, really critical. But
Just to clarify, Alexandria is a very dear person. She's not a dragon lady. She coaches people how to use dragon, and I cannot recommend her more highly. You can find her at Speakeasy Solutions in Canada. And I tell everybody, including the woman I spoke with this morning, I said, contact um, Alexandria because she will save you so much time using Dragon because it's one of these very elaborate programs and you need some guidance to help you get up to speed on it. So I highly recommend that you contact Alexandria.
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. But yeah, and it's interesting. I've had clients who were programmers as well. Some have succeeded with Dragon and some have not. It again, like all tools, they work well when they're used fully. But Dragon's not the only one, like you said, Ganesh, right? You're exploring some other aspects as well, and AI definitely can help carefully, as we know. Anyway,
Yeah, a lot of
You
people.
exchange your hands with your soul, right?
what
That's
was
when
that?
you
Sorry.
you exchange your hands with your soul. That's when
Yeah.
you pick.
You exchange your hands with your soul?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like they're gonna take everything that you said and make that into like their training material to make the
Yes.
AI even smarter.
Yeah.
The problem with AI is that it gets so much wrong about repetitive strain injury.
Mm.
Um, and it's garbage in, garbage out. And
Yeah.
people yell at me and say, "You just have to train it." Well, can we send AI to medical school and have them really understand the upper extremity and the extent to which soft tissue injury is are so serious? Um, yeah, I think
and
we need to keep our souls.
Sorry,
I
Deborah,
would.
just trying to clarify here when you say soft tissue injury, because like I don't yet understand kind of like the entire like dynamics of like the injury, right? When you say soft tissue, are you referring to kind of like the nerve tissue, or are you referring to the tendon, or are you referring to the muscle, or like all of them?
All of them, yeah. It's even the soft tissue could even be fascia, although we don't get into that so much. But if you have a nerve injury, a ligament, bursitis, something like that, all of these are soft tissues, and they are much harder to heal than a broken bone. I mean, of course, you could have a complex fracture and something like that could be difficult, but they just there's scarring and it tends to grow over time.
Does it actually include muscle kind of like tissue as
Yes,
well when you say right?
myositis. Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, if you have a pain on top of your forearm, it could be muscular,
Mm, mm, mm.
an injury to the muscle. It's very complex. I mean, I'm trying to think of how many I included in my book. I think about 26 varieties of RSI, soft tissue. You have a shoulder injury, the neck nerve compression at the neck, cervical radiculopathy. You can have epicondylitis at your elbow, um, decoy veins disease at the thumb, carpal tunnel, and there's other tunnel injuries as well. But it's really very complex. It's so
Yeah, I
funny
think
that you
I
asked.
heard there's one theory. I don't know how true it is because I just read it right where like the injury that happens to your kind of like any of these tissues might actually make the composition change, as you said, scarring or whatnot. But specifically, this one says that like water might get into this tissue if they're scarred, and hence like they're gonna like kind of like make the size a bit bigger and therefore pushes other tissue.
I
Um,
haven't
and
heard that, but
yeah,
scar tissue is a real thing. And the thing about scar tissue is that it's not as elastic as normal tissue. And so that's why it's so much easier to re injure because the scar tissue is more fragile than normal healthy tissue. That's
Yeah,
why
and they're
people
just gonna
flare
keep
some.
on accumulating, right? Like you injure yourself a little bit, like from overuse, and the next year is gonna add up. Like you have more and more scar tissue, and
Yeah, and the injuries can grow because you can also get compensatory and substitution injuries. So let's take the example of the mouse. You're using a flat mouse, you have problems here. So you get a vertical mouse, suddenly you've got the shoulder injury, or a substitution injury where you're injuring this hand with the mouse. So you use this hand and injure that one too. And
yeah,
then you get compensatory injuries because when you've got an injury, you it's kind of like breaking an ankle. You have to
yeah,
shift
you're
your weight.
gonna use your other ankle a lot
Ex-
more. Yeah,
Exactly. And you could throw off your back, you could throw off your shoulder, you could get an injury under your arms, from using crutches and stuff like that. So it's very interesting because in that case, sometimes people still limp even when the bone has healed. So they have to train themselves how to gain, an equivalent weight on the other leg.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so it's the body is very smart. If you injure something, it's going to do something to compensate, and you may not even be aware of it.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know that because I actually injured my ankle, and that is exactly what happened.
Oh,
Yeah, I realized that like I think 4 years in, because obviously the doctor that you saw didn't like try to kind of like allude to the other things post injury that you have to deal with, right? And you
yeah.
realize that
Yeah.
like, why am I walking like this? Like I'm slightly like
Yeah.
pushing my weights on the other side. Like I just realized that myself. So yeah, that is very true.
Yeah. We I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, and we have a lesson called, changing the standing leg because most people have a leg that they favor. And the lesson is really miraculous because in the beginning you have people stand and say, which leg are you favoring, and go, well, this one. But at the end of the lesson, it's the other one, or they're standing perfectly evenly. Because the brain has to be trained. You have to train the nervous system to say, yeah, it's safe now. You can do this now. It's okay. You're not going to be, causing further pain or
Mm.
injury by stepping on that leg. Um, but it really is fascinating, um, the way people contain injury and trauma in their bodies. If you've ever met someone who's got their shoulder up all the time, you can massage it all day long, but it's not going to stay down until they learn. Their nervous system learns that it can go up, it can go down, it can go forward, it can go back, it can go in circles. And you don't have to hold it up all the time because that's a habit. And people also have habits that they're unconscious about, you know, um, clenching their jaw, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not a good thing because then it's so close to the neck, and you don't want tension in your body when you're working. And it would be so wonderful if working were as natural as walking. You're swinging your arms, you're moving your hips, you're doing a little bit of rotation, you're doing like a little mild bicep curl, you're lengthening your hamstrings, you're pushing off your feet. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, speaking, Ganesh, of stealing our souls, can you imagine having work that would be as natural and pleasurable as taking a walk?
I
Yeah.
think I wonder if that's gonna be closer to truth now that we have like this AI. So basically, at work now, I'm actually not really like coding anymore. I'm instructing the AI, which means I
Yeah.
use like natural language to tell the AI what to do, sort of.
Hmm.
So that actually lends itself like really well towards using Dragon and whatnot. Because before, I think I would imagine the biggest challenge is obviously in programming you have to use all of this like weird symbols, right? You can't
Mhm.
just say it, but now you can say it, and then the AI will translate it into like the programming
And then you
symbols.
can fix it, right?
Yeah, you can probably you still have to type in to fix them once in a while, but
Or
like it's
use
gonna be
Dragon.
a lot less. Yeah,
Well, that's the best news I've heard, and that's a very encouraging um, thing for you, Ganesh, that you
yeah.
can use your voice and tell it what to do instead of using all those horrible keys. And the more you can do that, the more I think you're going to do well.
For
That's it.
sure.
Yeah. I think you're going to avoid a whole lot of problems
Do
by
you, Do
Go
you
ahead,
use
Al.
Claude
Yeah,
for?
that's what I use. Yeah.
You use Claude. Okay. No,
Yeah.
I use Copilot and Claude
Right.
interchangeably depending on
Right.
what I'm doing. So
Right.
anyway, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And
And I think hopefully it extends to more and more people as well, because now I think like coding is like the one thing that AI is like used a lot at, but I think they're coming up with like additional tools. I've heard that like they're coming up with like an AI that can basically work on finance, um, for like creating reports and whatnot. So I think they are going to kind of like cover more domain expertise than just
yeah.
coding.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
AI agents, right? That are very
Yeah. Yeah.
focused on,
Yeah.
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 Now I
Yeah.
think hopefully everyone should be able to type less. I think in the, I don't know, like still gonna take some years, I think, for it to
Yeah.
happen. But I think
Well,
yeah.
that's part of it, but is AI going to play the computer game for you? Um,
Yeah, that is the one
Really
bit where,
worrisome
yeah,
because the kids are getting injured, and I
yeah,
saw this
that is
coming, and
true.
no one would listen to me. Nancy, we see your comment having walking meetings is a new practice. It is.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another great idea that one of my friends came up with. He said during a meeting, everybody should, let me put myself on there so I can be bigger.
Yeah. Do
Um,
you want me to drag you?
yeah, if you can drag me, that'd be great. Thanks. Um, so if you're in a meeting, imagine a circle with either treadmills or stationary bikes. So you can see who's, it's like sitting at a round table, except you're on an exercise bike or a treadmill.
Oh,
Isn't that
interesting.
a great idea?
That's a neat idea
You
for
heard it here
sure.
first. If anybody does that in their conference room.
Oh, wow. That'd be
I mean,
good.
some people are only comfortable if they're slouched, which is such a bad idea.
Mm.
It's strange though. I think walking, I find, and I think many people find as well, to be quite, like have positive influence towards your kind of like concentration and ideation, right? Like it makes you more creative when you actually think whilst you walk. But I don't think the same is true with like biking, and any other cardio exercise. I wonder why. I don't know if
There,
maybe this is just me,
Cardio's
but like,
there's
is
a reason for that. When you're walking, it's asymmetrical, so you go one side to the other, and that action is your calves are moving, it's pumping blood up to your brain, but it's also very soothing to the
yeah,
nervous system walking. Yeah, and I don't know if biking is the same. I think you could definitely get a like a jogger's high from the
yeah. Unless
aerobic
if
activity.
you can configure it to be like really light biking, as opposed to like, well, normally when you get like an exercise bike, you then like go vigorously at it, right? Which is probably not gonna.
That's such a good question because I don't know what if it's the same calming effect that you would have from walking doing a bike. Um,
it's not. If I can speak to that.
yeah, jump in.
So I have a recumbent bike because it's the only cardio I can get. So in addition to this, my feet, my ankles are hooped. I so anyway, but the recumbent bike I can do, and I find honestly, even at a slow pace, I don't think the same way I do as when I walk.
Mm,
There's
right.
something, it just engages differently. But the bike, I find I don't really think. I mean, not to that extent. I find it doesn't pull on my creativity.
Yeah,
Mind you, that may vary from person to person, but I get a lot more thinking done, constructive thinking when I'm walking or in the shower, as a lot of people do. Anyway.
yeah. There's that whole thing of, you know, putting things on the back burner, and then
Mm.
suddenly the idea comes in a dream or when you're doing something physical. I mean, I got a lot of my best ideas when I was doing grand plies in my ballet class, and I have to write them down really fast after class to get them. But the movement, I think, is really good, and we need to get back to full body movement any
Yeah.
way we can because even just the thought of walking along a forest path, on some nice earth and pine needles, and you're smelling the fragrance of the pine trees and the foliage that's growing around you. It's very somehow nurturing,
Hmm.
in a wonderful way. And I think we live in such artificial environments with artificial lighting, and the more artificial we get, the less I like it. I mean, one of my friends is an AI enthusiast, and she wrote me an email, and it didn't sound like her. And I wrote her back, I said, "Was that AI?" And she says, "Yes, I'm trying to sound more better." And she thought, but what was missing was the charm of her
Hmm.
own voice. And I could tell that it
Yes.
wasn't written by her, because I'm thinking, who wrote this? It was really kind of
Ah,
upsetting. And also, I don't want to deal with her. Yes, Nancy, I don't want to deal with her avatar. I want to be friends with her.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, we can't let AI steal our souls, as Ganesh said earlier.
You can use AI to complement, to assist. That's the thing. It's an assist, like speech recognition, like any tool, right? But right now, a lot of people just don't know how to use it effectively, so they're just jumping on it. That tends to
Yeah, I
be
mean, it's good for organizing your grocery list, so you're not running all around the grocery store, like all dairy here, and then we get to the cereals and the grains and the fruits.
I never thought to use it for that.
Well, isn't that an interesting, I got that idea from one of my editors. He said, I use AI to organize my grocery list. And I thought, oh, that's kind of good, because if you're in a rush and you want to get through the grocery shopping as fast as you can and not meander, then you could, put it in AI and it would separate, probably guide you through the store. You could probably even put a map of your grocery store in there. But
Probably.
then you'd miss all the fun of just wandering through the aisles and thinking, I would never buy that. And, you know, grocery shopping can be kind of mesmerizing, or you
Finding those
discover,
deals.
oh, there's a new kind of mustard. I gotta try that.
I think they're actually quite good at giving you ideas for recipes. Like,
Yes.
this is what I have in the fridge. I don't want to go to the grocery.
Oh, that's a
What
good
can I do
idea.
with them? Yeah, I've
Will
been
it
doing
tell you
that.
how to make the meal hands free or reduce hand strain?
That would be an interesting AI agent. Create something that is focused.
We've got your
Um,
next career.
yeah, right? Yeah, no, that would be
Yeah.
interesting. Uh, Something really focused on adapting whatever you're doing. So you could say, I need to do that. Or you could do that sort of now, but you really need to program, I think, a proper AI agent with all the information about RSI.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh,
That's an
We've
idea.
got another note from Nancy. Very important. Another important
yes.
point. Keeping the hands warm. I constantly have cold hands. Bad for typing. Yes, indeed. Got to warm
Gloves.
them up for movement or breathing. Yeah, cold hands are both a risk factor and a warning sign of RSI. Um, Warm hands are really important, and Dr. Markuson's trick for this is to put your hand on your cheek. Maybe we can get me on camera. Could,
Yep.
So what does that mean? Like when your hands are cold, does that mean the blood is not flowing as well?
yeah, and so his test was, if you put your hand to your cheek and it's cold, you need to warm it up. And he would do things like he would suggest a bubble bath in your sink, or gently squeezing a very soft sponge, just to get the blood flowing. But cold hands are a serious business.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be a sign of stress, because when you're stressed, all the blood goes to the important organs, your heart, your lungs, and your innards. And so doesn't get out to the peripheral um,
Right.
extremity. So yeah, keeping your hands warm is really important. It's not. Dr. Markuson doesn't think that cold hands are fit for computer use.
No.
Period.
So speaking of which, right, seems like you guys are quite experienced in the kind of like in the with the issue, right? Are you guys doing anything to kind of like treat the um the condition, or are you guys simply kind of like change your kind of like life to work around it?
That's
Like,
actually a really good question.
you guys try to improve the condition, or you guys just try to kind of like leave it and make it stay as is, but like kind of like change your life around it?
You can't if you have RSI at a certain point, you can't improve. I mean, like if you're weak and there's too much scar tissue, you can't strengthen that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You have to maintain. You can improve and get better, but
Mhm.
it's not like you're after a certain point. I think there is a point where you can turn RSI around very early, but most people have no idea they have it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that there's underlying scar tissue and other injuries that are happening underneath the surface. But to answer your question, I do physical therapy. On a regular basis. I do an exercise program every single day. I designed it myself. I'm a fitness professional. I do
Right.
yoga every day, but I've modified it so that I'm not doing anything on my hands. Um, I do a ton of stuff. I get Feldenkrais lessons. I do Feldenkrais lessons. I get hands-on treatment with my Feldenkrais practitioner. I get osteopathy. And I also, unfortunately, lost my um, acupuncturist who was genius. So, but I also get acupuncture, and each one of those things helps me in a different way. But the thing about these helping professions, sometimes you have to try several modalities and several practitioners before you hit the one that's going to work for you. And like for instance, if I'm having nerve problems or a ganglion cyst, I go to my acupuncturist. If I feel like the bones are out of joint, I see my Feldenkrais practitioner or my osteopath. And, but a lot of what I do for myself every day. I think self care is the true gold. Nobody can sit up straight for you. Nobody can take breaks for you. Nobody can pace themselves for you. No one can practice good technique or good posture for you.
Do you add
So
like some specific kind of like back for posture as well as like hand conditioning to try to maintain yourself?
don't do the hand. You're just going to cause further. I mean, don't do things like wrist curls
Mm.
or, like it's okay to do tendon glides, which are these. So, it's the base of the thumb, the base of the hand, the top of the palm, a claw, and then open. You can do that kind of thing. And you can do rings like this. But the hand doesn't need strengthening. And if you do things like gripping with the forearm, you're just aggravating more. What you really need is to strengthen your back, strengthen your rhomboids, your latissimus dorsi, the back of your neck, so that you can maintain good posture. But, all these people who go straight to the hand are just usually either making it worse or aggravating the injury. I leave the hand out of it when I'm exercising.
Mhm.
I'm not, and when I give exercise programs to people, I don't have them gripping stuff because it's just irritating what's already weak. You're just adding load to things that don't need it, and the hands are very delicate. I mean, people want hand strengthening exercises, but that's not where the strength of the hand comes from. It comes from powerful back and, other muscles.
Yeah.
Alexandria, did you have something you wanted to say?
I did, but it's gone.
Well, I think we were talking about what you do.
Um, for this is horrible. I mean, in the beginning, I tried everything, like different exercises, different, modalities. And honestly, nothing specific really put a dent into making me feel better. But through modifying the way that I do things, that allowed me to diminish the pain over time and even get some strength back. And I mean, it just became noticeable in what I could lift or carry, and how I could do that. But I plateaued, right? I probably plateaued maybe about 15 years ago. So since then, it's just a matter of managing my life, which is now, I was telling Deborah about this the other day. For me, it's so subconscious. And the way I interact physically with my environment is now just automatically designed to minimize any strain or stress for
So
my
important.
hands.
This is such a good point, Alexandria. I'm so glad that you brought that up because Ganesh, she uses adaptive tools. She's careful, as I am, about the kind of tools that she chooses. Um, and this is what will also really help you maintain when you do reach that plateau where you really can't get any better. And if you try, you're just going to flare because
Mm,
nobody wants to flare. I mean, you're not in the position where you're having flare ups, but most people with RSI do. Nancy could probably speak to that as well. So, this idea of using adaptive devices to reduce hand strain is really critical. And thank you for bringing it up, Alexandria. I mean, Alexandria also does something I'd like to talk about for a minute. A lot of people get very depressed because of
mm,
RSI because they have to give up a lot of things that they love. But in fact, Alexandria loves to garden, so she's finding ways to do it that don't strain her, doing a little bit at a time. And
mm.
I think that's a wonderful example for other people with RSI to follow.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, you're an inspiration.
I'm just me. um, but yeah,
Does anybody else have anything to add?
Nancy,
Nancy? I don't know. I think she's still here, but we don't know.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure she is. Ganesh, is there anything else that you? Oh, I think.
she needs to go. Thank you for
Okay.
coming.
All right.
Thank you, and we will smell the roses, Nancy. Good to see you.
Bye. So Ganesh,
Yes,
putting you
you had
on
a
the
question.
spot. Yes. Did you have a
Um,
question?
no, question. Well, I just had a question. No, I don't have anything else to add. It's been quite useful, I think, for me. So thank you for all the kind of like new perspective and like sort of like basically, well, I'm basically learning from people who has gone through the thing, right? I'm sure it'll be
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a continuing thing, and we hope that you do really well, um, and stay out of trouble because it's just so wonderful to meet somebody who's actually proactive before they have a
Yes.
major problem.
Props.
Um, so I just have a few housekeeping things that I want to mention, and I'm losing my train of thought here. Hang on a second. I've got notes. Um, so for anybody watching, we've kept the forum alive. So if you haven't filled out the questionnaire, please do so. Share your experiences. And if you want to be in a future live stream, there's a point where it asks you, the form says, do you want to be in a live stream about this? You need to put your email address in there or we won't know to contact you. So don't say just yes, love to, because I don't know who I'm talking to. You need to put your email address in and let me know that you want to come. Um, then the other thing is if you would kindly sign my petition, I think there's a banner on it somewhere. Yeah, sign the petition. There's a link down at the bottom, or you can go to change.org, because as I've been harping during this whole live stream, the shape of the tools makes us so vulnerable to repetitive strain injury. And we need to legislate consumer protection. We need, at the very least, a massive educational campaign. I am doing the best I can. So if you can help by sharing videos and this kind of information, sharing the survey, sharing the petition, that would be really helpful to me. Um, then I want you to save the date, because Alexandria and I are hosting a live stream on housekeeping with RSI Thursday, June 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern. We have so many conversations about, we trade recipes, we trade tricks. And it's always a blast to have Alexandria on the channel talking about housekeeping. So save the time, 3 p.m. Eastern, join us and learn tips that you may not have thought of and share your own. And you can also support this work by subscribing to the channel and becoming a member of the channel. Members have early access to videos, and they also have access to a playlist of soothing Feldenkrais lessons that aren't on my public channel. But most of all, you have a good feeling in your heart that you're supporting education and supporting this work. So if you're already a member, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you, and it means a lot to me. And then last, to all of you, and then anybody in the replay, you are not alone. And I think you can see from this live stream that other people understand what you're going through. And if you have any comments, you can still add them in the comments section of this live stream so that you can get your voice heard as well. And, you know, maybe somebody doesn't believe you, but maybe they'll believe this if they see other people talking about RSI. So it's sort of an asset that you can think of using. So take care of your hands. I'll see you all in the next video, and thank you so much for coming.